Ms. Robertson.
Yes, Your Honor.
Your world was turned upside down at the age of 8 when you received the shocking news that the man you believed to be your biological father was not.
Yes, Your Honor.
You were informed that the defendant, Mr. Mcbain Sr., is your father.
Yes, Your Honor.
No.
You've dragged him to court to prove that today.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, Mr. Mcbain, you say during your military career you were married to the plaintiff's mother. However, you're certain that you are not her father because you claim her mother was unfaithful, and you have proof.
Yes, Your Honor, I do.
Ms. Robinson, now what happened when you turned 8 years old? Please tell the court.
When I was 8 years old, my mother had sat me down and she had found Mr. Mcbain in the phone book, and she said, "This is your biological father right here."
She pointed him out in the phone book.
Yes, Your Honor. And from that point, I didn't really think anything of it. I was 8 years old. It was kind of like it was nothing. So now my question is why, if he's denying it, why is his name on my birth certificate? Why did he sign his rights away? And Your Honor, I have proof right here.
Ryan, can you please hand me that evidence?
Yes, Your Honor.
And this, I can see, is still affecting you, even as an adult woman. This
Yes, Your
memory
Honor.
of being told this at 8 years old and having so many unanswered questions.
Yes, Your Honor.
So this is your birth certificate.
Yes, my name may be on there, Your Honor. However, it's on there because the state put it on there. I had nothing to do with putting my name on her birth certificate.
So you're listed as father,
Yes, but that was against my objections.
but during that time you were married to her mother?
Yes, ma'am, I was.
So a child born within a marriage is presumed to be
Yeah,
the husband's child.
Yeah.
So your name was automatically placed on the birth certificate as father. But even in that moment at the hospital,
I wasn't there.
you weren't there, but you would not have voluntarily placed your name on the birth certificate if you had a choice.
No, Your Honor, I
Because
wouldn't
you
have.
had doubts even then?
Even then, I had doubts. That's one of the reasons why I let Mr. Ayers go ahead and adopt her, because she did deserve to have a father. It's not her fault who her mother is.
So you were married to her mother,
Yes, Your Honor.
and you served in the military.
Yes, I was.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
But during that time, you said she was unfaithful.
Yes, Your Honor, she was. Not only she was unfaithful, she asked me for a threesome at one point in the marriage as well.
So, Ms. Robertson, I want to move to you a little bit, because after 8 years old, how were you coping?
I let it go until I turned right before my 13th birthday. And that's when I had told my mother that all I wanted for my 13th birthday was to meet Mr. Mcbain.
What did she say?
She got it for me.
She
I
did.
don't remember that at all.
Well, wait a minute. If you don't remember it, let me have her tell it. Ms. Robertson, what do you remember?
It only lasted about 40 minutes, and that was like more than anything in the world for me at that time. And then it was over. After that, I believe I had talked to him a couple times after that. Then all of a sudden, his phone number got disconnected. It was taken out of the phone book, and he was just gone, like he fell off the face of the earth.
I'm not her dad.
Your mother is absolutely shaking over here. I want to stand her up. Ma'am, please. Ms. Graham, thank you for being here. Do you have any doubts that Mr. Mcbain is your daughter's biological father?
Your Honor,
Mr.
Mr. McBain, you and I were married. We were living in the same place.
Yes, and I worked a lot.
And you were there.
I was in the United States Coast Guard, Your Honor.
Your Honor.
And the first unit that I was in, we were 1 in 4 duty, which meant I was off for 1 day and on for 4.
And you're suggesting that you worked too much to be her father.
No, I'm saying I'm not her father because while in the Coast Guard, just before she informed me that she was pregnant, I was told by the Coast Guard I was sterile.
And you've got 3 kids after that, Mr. McBain. How
Yes,
are
I
you
have
sterile?
3 kids after that. However, it was due to stress. I was under a great
Yeah,
deal of
you were under stress with other women.
I never once cheated on Miss Graham. I'm not like her.
You believe she was cheating on you around the time Ms. Robertson was conceived?
Yes.
Explain.
As one example, I was working 7 days a week for about 3 months straight and went back home. As I'm walking across the living room, I look over and there's a pair of boots and a coat on the floor and a coat on
Your Honor, those were his boots and his coat.
They were size 10, Your Honor. I wear size 12. The coat was a medium. I wear a 2X coat. Anyway, I walked over to her room. I beat on the door. I said, I don't know who you are in there, but you've got 30 seconds to get out of my house, or you're going to be really sorry.
No.
Anyway,
So you completely refute
I met
this suggestion that you were in your room with another man.
Not only was she in a room with the other man, but she was having sex. I don't.
So you feel
Your
like
Honor,
you
Mr.
caught
Graham's
her.
just been a sperm donor to me. That's all he was. Our whole marriage was a joke.
You were a cheat, that's why. She cheated on me almost from day one.
So it's obvious you all had some marital issues. During the time Ms. Robertson was conceived, do you remember anything?
Yes, that's about the time that we had the threesome.
Your Honor, there was no threesomes in Kodiak. And if there was any threesomes at all, it was because Mr. Mcbain had asked for them.
And why would I
Yeah,
do that? I did that to try and appease you and keep your legs
Mike.
closed.
If you want more episodes of Paternity Court, make sure to subscribe and click on the notification bell. Now, Ms. Graham, I did hear you admit that you were cheating, but you said you were cheating after Ms. Robertson was already conceived and born. Now, earlier you said
Yes, you may.
you never
Your
slept with
Honor.
anybody.
No.
So you-
Before Miss Robertson was conceived, no, I had not slept with anybody but Mr.
That is
McBain.
an outright lie,
After
Your Honor.
I found out I was pregnant with Miss Robertson, then we had split up.
I believe that the guy from that we had the threesome with is actually the father of Miss Robertson.
Oh,
Excuse me. And who is that?
It was an individual I was stationed with.
Yeah, you were stationed with a lot.
I know, and so were you.
But wait a minute. He's talking about. Ooh. So, Mr. McBain, you truly believe this other man could potentially be Miss Robertson's father?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Why?
Well, between the Coast Guard telling me I was sterile and the fact that the man is Hawaiian, he's Samoan.
I am.
Your Honor, this girl is white as white could be.
So wait
My
a minute.
tan
You're
comes
saying
from-
the other guy is Samoan,
Yes.
and so that's how you believe that Miss Robertson looks Samoan?
Some of her facial features, yes.
No.
Your
Yes.
Honor, this is a confusion I put up with during the whole marriage with this man.
The confusion she put up with is she couldn't figure out who was in her bed.
Woo! So, Miss Graham, I have to ask you respectfully. Do you remember this threesome?
Not that he's talking about, no.
Do you remember any threesome?
There was one or two, yes, at his request.
Okay.
You're the one that brought
Why
your
would I-
friends to me
And why would I do that?
because you couldn't fulfill it.
Okay. So,
Is that right? Your
Moving-
Honor, I met at
Yeah.
least 10 gentlemen who claimed that they had been in her bed.
10?
Yes, 10.
Really?
Yes, Your Honor.
How do you know this? They were talking about
around,
it?
Yes, I got them to admit. The first thing I did was I found out who they were. I got them to admit to what they had done because, you know, guys like to talk.
So you befriended them, then once they said it, you said, aha.
Exactly.
Your Honor, we were well separated after this time.
So you remember a time when you were having...
Not 10 men, no.
Okay, but you remember when you were, let's say it nicely...
Promiscuous with one other man, yes.
Well, that wasn't really the word I was going to use, but since you said it.
Yes, you were
Promiscuous.
promiscuous. One other man at a time.
Miss
Your Honor, we're not
Robertson,
here for
I can
slander.
only imagine how difficult this testimony is for you to hear. And as I look at you with tears in your eyes, and you have to listen to this going back and forth between your mother and the man she says is your biological father, it's just not right. Anything you've heard thus far, does it make you think any differently? Do you...
No, because I look like him. I'm built like him.
Well, the part I'm having trouble with, Mr. McBain, is even if your account is true, even if she was sleeping around, if she was your wife and you were also sleeping with her, couldn't you potentially be Miss Robertson's biological father?
I don't feel that she looks like as much like me as she thinks she does. Also, due to the fact of what the Coast Guard told me, and due to the fact that Miss Graham is a cheater.
What do you think Ms. Graham's motivation was to sit Miss Robertson down at 8 years old and say, I need to tell you something.
No idea whatsoever what she was trying to pull there.
Because nobody would walk their daughter, their child into this brick wall. Nobody would do that.
Thank you.
So
I have 3 other kids that I've made, and then 1 other that I took on. And my fiance has 2 children that I'm father.
No wonder he's denying her. That's too many.
This is your fiance?
Yes, ma'am.
Please stand, ma'am. I'd like to hear from you. State your name for the court.
My name is Sarah Lawrence.
Sarah Lawrence. Okay, you are Mr. McBain's fiance.
Yes, I am.
Had he ever told you that he had another child by his wife? Potentially, even if he didn't believe it, potentially?
Well, actually, I found out about Miss Robinson. She had contacted him through Facebook and also called, and I had no idea who she was, and I kind of freaked out on him a little bit. But then he briefed me on what her motive was, and that was to find out if that was her father.
If you were not her father, why did you show up at my house and tell her, I am your daddy?
When
and
did you
turn
do that?
around and
he would
sign
do?
your rights away the next day for her?
See, he wouldn't do that.
You
I
don't
know
know
him.
I was
You
at
did
the house.
not know him.
I was at your house.
You did
yes.
not know him.
And the reason I was at your house is because the state of Oregon was taking money out of my unemployment for child support.
Because
So
she's your
I
daughter.
went to your house, and I sit in your living room 2 different times, and that's all it took. And your then husband decided he was going to adopt and asked me if I'd sign over my rights. And I said yes, because it's only fair to her that she's got a father. He was willing to do it, and I didn't feel that she was my daughter.
So, Ms. Lawrence, you hear this story about your fiance giving up his parental rights. 18 months old, this baby's 18
Well,
months
he
old.
tells me the story how he's telling you now. He's an honest man. He takes care of his responsibility. He's just not the way that she's painting the picture for everybody.
Your Honor,
For the last 2
I'm
years.
an honest woman, too.
Ms. Robertson, all of this aside,
It's
what?
confusing.
It is. It is. And what I see happening before my very eyes is what I know happened then. That they both do all of this, and then you just fade to the back.
Your Honor, no matter what.
Your mother's running her mouth now. I'm trying to talk to you.
I'm happy that I have a father, Mr. Ayers, that has taken care of me. I'm very blessed for that. And
Which was what my goal was to have him, and having him adopt her.
and then I have
Every
my
child
mother.
deserves to have a father.
But the truth is, you relinquished your parental rights, and it wasn't until 3 years later.
It wasn't that long, Your Honor. She was a baby at the time.
And I'm scratching my head at how the
Time
court
you
would let
relinquished your rights.
Because he didn't think
Yes.
that she was his.
That happened.
And because you guys were separated. You guys were
You
divorcing.
didn't know.
No, I don't. I wasn't there. But
Exactly.
I believe
So
what he tells me.
You're not even in this picture.
So, Ms. Robertson,
She is in my picture.
back to you, since
Yes, Your
I
Honor.
seem to be the only person that addresses you. How in the world have you been getting on and managing all of this? And what do you hope to
I
get
hope
from
that
this
he is.
answer?
I want to know more about my background. Like he said, he has 3 other kids. I would like to become in contact with them as well. And
And if it turns out that she is,
Let her speak.
I just, mainly my heritage and to get to know him. I possibly have siblings out there.
So even after all you've heard him say, I can see in your eyes, it still means the world to you that if he's your biological father, for you to have a chance to know him.
Yes, Your Honor.
if she is my child, then I'm gonna have to do some reevaluating of my thinking.
You sure are.
If she is my child, if she's my child,
33 years late.
Will you just let me speak for a moment? If she's my child, by all means, I will step up and and help her in any way. If she's not my child, I'll still help her find who her father is.
Thank you. And I have those answers for
Thank
you
you.
all. Ron, these results were prepared by DNA Diagnostics, and they read as follows. In the case of Robertson v. Mcbain Sr., when it comes to 33-year-old Maylene Robertson, it has been determined by this court Mr. Mcbain Sr., you are not her father. Ms. Robertson, how do you feel? Are you all right?
Yeah.
So, Ms. Graham, you've been very sure. You have to live with the fact that you've lied to your daughter.
Your Honor, I have to live with the fact that I've lied to myself.
No. You're not gonna go all psychological and get me off my point. Because this is the problem. I'm talking about your daughter, you're talking about yourself. That's been the problem. I have been saying it over and over again, and no one listens. Everyone's still yelling, me, no she, no he. And Miss Robertson has just faded into the background when she really is the person that has endured the most pain. You did your dirt, he did his dirt, but the pile of crap landed on her. That's not right.
No, Your Honor, it's not.
It's not right.
No, it's not.
Ms. Hyman, you're here today to finally prove to the defendant, Mr. Brown, and his family that he is the biological father of your 4-year-old son, Landon.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Brown, you are adamant that you are not Landon's father and say you won't do a thing for the child since he's not yours.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Hyman,
Yes, Your Honor.
what has Mr. Brown done for your son?
He has done nothing as far as no diapers, no wipes, no clothes, no visit, no type of affection.
Your Honor, I to be honest with you, I shouldn't have to do anything if I'm asking for a DNA test.
Your Honor, he has not asked for a DNA test. As far as anything, he would say, I'm not taking care of child unless I get a DNA test. And he really does not tell me. He tells family members. He tells my cousins, my mom, his mom.
So he has never directly asked you for a DNA test? You disagree, Mr. Brown? You say you have?
No.
Yes, I have. Why should I do anything until I need proof? I need proof, Your Honor.
And where do your doubts stem from?
Because of past experiences that I have had, you know, of me going through a situation where I asked for a DNA test and I found out the child wasn't mine.
Okay, so you've had a past experience. I'm still trying to figure out what exactly is your doubt based on.
Because from
None.
Yes.
None.
If they
None.
coming to me saying
My son looks
that
just
he's
like him.
another man's baby,
None.
and then 2 months later, then
None.
it's mine, what would you do?
So
Your Honor,
people
Your Honor, that was
are
not
coming to you and saying it's another man's baby.
Yes.
You're hearing these rumors.
Yes.
When you were in a relationship with her, did you catch her cheating?
No.
Were you suspicious?
No. I
Your
was
Honor,
staying with him, Your
come on.
Honor. He
Your
drove,
Honor.
Your Honor,
like I said,
he drove me around.
From the past experience, when I had asked for a DNA test.
She's not talking about the past experience. She's talking about
listen,
the current
if you
experience with
went
our
through
son.
Listen, if you went through one situation, if you went through one situation,
It doesn't matter
Your Honor,
about that situation. She's talking about the current situation
if you went through one
with
situation,
Landon.
Your Honor, that and you find out the child is not yours, and then you going through another, you will not go through that twice.
Okay, if you would go through it
No,
twice.
my point is, in addition to that, we've established that you've had a previous situation.
And I will
What
come.
I'm asking you.
You
in
a whole
addition
lie. We
to
never
that,
walked. You ain't used no condom with me, but one time,
Your
boy.
Honor.
Why is you sitting right here lying
Your
like that?
Honor,
I wish
condom.
you would stop lying.
You're saying you never slept with her unprotected.
Lie.
Is that your submission to this court?
The whole lie. And if
Your
I'm
Honor.
lying, I'm flying. If I'm lying, I'm flying. Pigs gonna
Your
fly
Honor.
through this window right
Your
now.
Honor.
You are lying.
Come on now.
Come on now.
All right.
Nothing. You're sounding like a liar.
I've
Hold
been
on.
asking for a DNA test for 4
You
years.
a lie.
Why I haven't
No,
got
you're
one?
not. No, you haven't.
Why I haven't got
No,
one?
you
I have
haven't.
came to you plenty
no,
of
you
times and said.
and what have I
have
told
came to you
If
plenty
you
of
want a
times, Ms.
DNA
Hyman,
test,
and
you
asked
don't
for a
have to
DNA
come to me
test.
and get no DNA test. Go put
Let's
yourself on
talk
child
one
support.
at a time. Let's talk one at a time. I want you to explain to this court when, how did you ask Ms. Hyman for a DNA test?
Asked for a DNA test when it was brought to my attention.
Lie.
If I already went down there to took a DNA test, you really don't need me to go down there to go get a DNA test. All you got to do is just go down there and take the child down there to do a DNA test. Correct?
Well,
don't need
you
my
would
DNA.
also have
Have
to
you-
submit
okay then.
DNA.
So
Okay,
after I already
Your
submitted my
Honor,
DNA, so why it's so hard to
So
go
have
do a
you
DNA test?
submitted your DNA?
I've been submitting my DNA.
Your Honor, he never submitted
Ben.
DNA towards my case. and towards our son Landon. He never went down there. Just like you went down there with your other child and put yourself on child support. You can go down there with this child and put yourself on child support with this one. I don't have to be with you to go put yourself on child support. You can go do it yourself. All they're gonna do is, when he go down there and submit his swab, they're gonna send me a letter in the mail and telling me to bring me and my son down there.
Well, you all are saying the same thing, but I'm just not understanding why there was never a DNA test.
Your Honor, that's the same
Your
thing
Honor,
I've been asking. If I did a DNA test.
Listen. I want to talk about this child.
Correct.
I want to talk about this child.
And I told her I wasn't doing that until I get a DNA test.
And that's fine.
That's all I said.
Right, but you did not go down to the court again as it relates to Landon.
I've been down there.
You have?
No, you did not.
I've been down there.
Explain to me what happened when you went back to court.
When I went down there, I needed her to go down there.
No, you don't.
I needed her to go down there.
No, you did not.
Yes, I did.
No, you did not.
Yes, I did. And I
No,
told
you
that
did not.
multiple
Your Honor.
times.
Okay, the bottom line is then.
No, you did not.
Okay, hold on, Ms. Hyman. If he was confused and he thought he needed you to go down there.
He never came to me and said, Your Honor, he never came to me and said, well, both of us go down there together to get this.
Never said that.
He never said that.
Right, I'd like to hear from your witness, ma'am. Please step up to the podium. State your name.
Samantha Tart.
Ms. Tart, you are Mr. Brown's mother. And what would you like to add to this situation? Do you believe little Landon, 4-year-old Landon, is your son's child?
I have my doubts.
You do? Yeah. And why do you doubt?
Because when I was at work, someone came to me and told me I need to get a blood test. Because his particular relative was saying that it was his child. So that's where the doubt came in, Your Honor.
So you were at work and someone came up to you and said, I think you should encourage your son to get a blood test.
Yes, sir.
Because
yes, Your Honor.
It's okay. I have a lot of masculine energy, don't I? He encouraged you to have your son get a DNA test.
Yes, Your Honor.
Because he heard or knew firsthand?
He knew firsthand.
He didn't know
that someone else was claiming this child as their own.
Yes, Your Honor.
Your Honor, my whole thing, the young man that she's claiming that knows, that said they knows firsthand, I didn't start messing with this man till the end of February, beginning of March. This man was not nowhere near me and him.
So why, the rumor was he was the father before anybody even told me I was the father?
It was a whole lie. I told you from the day I got pregnant, boy. You come on, man.
That's the story.
Mr. Brown, I'm gonna let you believe what you want to believe, but when it comes out today that Landon is 99.99% that he's yours, I want you to step up.
All right, so quick question. When was Landon born?
October the 19th.
When were you all last involved
the week
sexually?
of Christmas.
Christmas week.
Mm-hmm.
At what point did you all stop being intimate and you had relations with someone else?
Me and this young man, we really never stopped being intimate. We still dip and dab every now and then. Your Honor, we still dip and dab.
Hold on, wait a minute. Listen.
We still dip and dab.
No.
We still dip and dab. I have text messages to prove where even on my birthday, where you called, for instance, on my birthday, he inboxed me and said, "Oh, I will give you good birthday sex if you don't have anybody to give it to you." This is May 1st. This is May 1st. But if I'm not the woman that you want to be with, why are you steady trying to dip and dab with
No, Your Honor, listen, hold on, wait a minute.
Okay, listen. Before we get to all that, I was actually amused by the way your mother was looking at you.
Right.
When it was determined that you were still inboxing her. Were you intimate with anyone else over the course of the next several weeks?
No. I was staying with him. I did not have no intimacy with no other person. I was staying with him. I didn't start sleeping with nobody else until the end of February, beginning of March. I did not start sleeping with nobody until the end of February.
So the bottom line is you had sexual relations with him during Christmas.
Yep.
Now the baby was born in October.
During Christmas, during the year of 2010, we still dip and dab.
She was dipping and dabbing in something else too.
Hold on.
If you think I was, no, you was dipping and dabbing in this.
Hold on, Miss Hyman. When you were dipping and dabbing with him in December, were you also with somebody else? You said January, February, or February, March?
In February and March.
In February, March.
I was already pregnant then.
But you said Landon was born in October.
October.
And so if you count back all the way to December, that's almost 10 full months.
Correct.
And then the other guy was around 8+ months.
About 8 months, not really 8+ months. About 8 months. I was already pregnant then when I started dipping and dabbing with this other young man.
Doesn't add up, Your Honor.
Bottom line is, 8 months or so before the child was born, you were having sex with another person. And then 10 months before the child was born, you were having sex with Mr. Brown. You don't feel there's a chance that it could be the other man's child?
Doesn't add up, Your Honor. It doesn't add up, Your Honor.
When it comes down to the case of my son looks nothing like this other man. This other man is 5'2". My son doesn't have no facial features, no anything as this other young man. My son has the exact same birthmark on the same side as this young man. My son has the same lips, the ears, the eyes, the nose. He has my nose, the chin.
Your Honor, looks don't mean nothing. You can think about a person so much that a child can come out looking like that person. You know that.
But I'm okay.
We know that.
But my whole thing, Your Honor, if you can hang
no, I don't know that.
I'm sorry.
But,
Your Honor,
I appreciate that faulty evidence.
Your Honor, if we was beefing with each other, how can we hang around each other for my child to look like you if we wasn't around each other? How can it happen?
So you resent the fact, Ms. Hyman, that he even questions it all?
No, I don't resent the fact. I don't resent the fact that he questions it. I mean, I can
You believe it's substantiated?
I understand why he questions.
Okay, so you can understand why he questions.
I can understand why he questions it, but at the same time, he shouldn't question the fact when he sees my son. Everything that my son has is just like this young man.
Your Honor, I've been through this once. I'm not going through it again.
I want to hear from the plaintiff's witness. Ma'am, please step up to the podium. State your name.
Demetria Coleman.
And you are Ms. Hyman's mother. Ma'am, what would you like to add to this case?
First of all, I really respect Mr. Brown and his mother. We have been very close friends from the day that I met them. I love him as if he was my own child. But that being said, I love my daughter. Me and my daughter have a relationship, and I've asked her on numerous occasions, is this his child? Could it be somebody else's child? And she has told me every time, no. Yes, there has been the questions of, he wants a DNA test, And after going through this for 3 years, I was looking at TV one day and I was like, you know what? I called Ms. Tart. I said, I'm calling paternity court. I'm gonna get to the bottom of this because I feel like every child deserves both parents. And I know Mr. Brown would be a great parent. And in my heart, I believe it. In my heart, my soul, I believe that Mr. Brown is my grandson's father.
On that same token, though, with that being said, if he is turned out to be our grandson today, we have lost 4 years because we've been asking for this for 4 years. So I've asked, my husband, we've all asked for this DNA test. So, including her mother. So this is something that we've been asking, and it's like taking years from all of us away from someone that could have been our grandchild.
Because neither one of them would step up to the plate and take care of business.
What the obvious question is why has it taken so long?
Us beefing with each other, us not being on the same page. It could be some times where I might be busy and he's busy. If I'm not busy, he might be out of town.
And I was always on the road, Your Honor.
He was always out of town.
When I asked for it, so that tells you I have asked for a DNA test.
You have not asked for a DNA test. Your mother asked, not you.
Listen. You all are never going to agree on that.
We're not.
You just aren't.
We're not.
My concern is I'm trying to think about this young, innocent little boy.
Yes.
For 4 years.
Yes.
My son is 4 years old. I couldn't imagine for 4 years a child growing up and not knowing who his father is.
I take care of my kids by myself. They live faithfully, they eat, they sleep, they got clothes on their back, a roof over their head, lights, water. I do it by myself, so it doesn't really matter.
I think it matters for Landon.
It matters for Landon, but not for me.
Yeah. So he doesn't think of Mr. Brown or...
No, when Mr. Brown comes in the house to pick up our other son, he'll dap him up, pat him on the head.
So wait, you come pick up the other son, but you don't pick up Landon?
Yes. You want me to tell you why? Because the reason why, because I haven't had a DNA test, all right? The other son, I have gotten a DNA test and found out he was mine, so I takes care of him.
All right, so for 4 years, you've been coming in and out of the house. You all still know each other, talk to each other, see each other regularly, but you couldn't figure out how to get a DNA test done on this child.
That's what I have asked.
I can't accept that, but it's reality. Mr. Brown, I have to ask you, what are your hopes? Do you hope Landon is your son?
Yes, I really want to know, Your Honor, because like my mom said, if he is mine, we have lost 4 years. I'm not a bad man. I don't not try to just put him off like that. No, I never do that. You know, if he's mine, I take care. I handle my responsibilities as a man. That's what I do.
And I never took that from him. I never took the fact that he was a man, the fact that he take care of his responsibility. I never took that from him.
All right, so Ms. Hyman, I have to ask you this. If Mr. Brown is the father, your claims will be substantiated. If he's not, what will you do?
There's no doubt that he's not. He isn't the father. I know he is.
I'm ready for the results. Yeah. These results were prepared by DNA Diagnostics and they read as follows. In the case of Hyman versus Brown, when it comes to 4-year-old Landon Hyman, it has been determined by this court, Mr. Brown, you are not the father.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
You all right, Mr. Brown?
Stop crying.
Ms. Hyman,
Yes, Your Honor.
you assured this court that there were no other possibilities.
I really felt that he was his son.
Are you okay, Mom?
I am.
Were you hoping that
I was.
Mr. Brown, you seem very disappointed.
It's just been 4 long years of just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
I'm sorry that this result didn't turn out favorably. I can see how hurt you are. Mr. Green, you claim that the defendant repeatedly cheated on you during your marriage with both men and women.
Yes, Your Honor.
You state you have every reason to doubt that you are 1-year-old Keegan's biological father because of Mrs. Green's sexual track record.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, you've petitioned the court for a paternity test.
Yes, ma'am.
Mrs. Green, you say Mr. Green wasn't ready to be married and that he was the promiscuous one.
Yes, Your Honor.
You claim that you stepped outside of your marriage only when he left to be with other women.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, well, Mr. Green, why do you have doubts that baby Keegan is your biological child?
I mean, she used to leave me in the house, like, for numerous amounts of time. Like, she'd tell me she'd go into the store for, like, an hour. She'd be gone for, like, 2 or 3 hours and get back. I asked her where she'd been. Like, she just been to her girlfriend's house. To her girlfriend's house can mean really her boyfriend's house or both. Like, who knows? You know what I mean?
What if the store was just crowded?
I don't think Burger King at 10 o'clock at night is crowded until, like, 1 in the morning. So this is what made me, like, not want to be with her. You know what I mean? Like, and then when I did leave, the first time I did leave, I was going to see my other child.
But when he left to see his other child, I did not even know he was gone. Someone called me at work and told me that they dropped him off at the bus station. If I'm supposed to be your wife, why you didn't tell me you were leaving, whether it was to see your child or whatever? You could have said you were leaving.
I don't know if that's accurate or not.
You don't know if it's accurate or not? Don't play.
I really can't.
Don't play.
I can't really can't recall.
Can't recall.
He can't recall.
Yeah,
Of course not.
Okay. So give me some other reasons why you have doubt, Mr. Green.
Okay, and then there was another time where, like, I flew back from Atlanta. Like, we said we was gonna get it together. You know what I'm saying? I flew back from Atlanta, came in the house,
where he
went
left
chilling.
with another woman in Atlanta. Tell the whole story.
We was broken up. You already had another child by somebody else.
Okay.
So what you mean?
Yes, ma'am, I did. And he would have also had another child during that point. If
Allegedly.
still another
She said,
child.
that was allegedly. That wasn't mine.
There is
allegedly.
still another child
What
that is
kind of
possibly
marriage is this?
a circus.
A circus.
Let me get this together. You're married. So you
Basically.
always suspected stuff was going on.
Yeah, she already told.
Even when you were together.
I found the condom wrapper on the floor. Like one time I came home or whatever from being like out or whatever, out of town or whatever I came, it was a
Out
condom
of
wrapper on
town.
the
How
floor.
long were you out of town for? Where were you at when you were out of town?
I was in Atlanta.
Right, in Atlanta. Right.
Yeah, I was in Atlanta.
With who?
With my son moms. But we wasn't together.
So what are you talking about then?
But still, I found the condom wrapper on the floor. You smutty.
Okay, let's get this straight. Were you in Atlanta with your son's mother, or were you in Atlanta visiting your son? There's a difference.
I had it out there, and I was,
He
you know,
was
going
in
here, going
Atlanta
there.
living with his son's mother. While they were in Atlanta, she became pregnant again. What Key's over here talking about condom
not
wrappers
true.
and all that
That's
other
not true.
stuff,
She got pregnant in
that
North
was while
Carolina.
he was gone. At least somebody has sense enough to be using condoms.
Okay,
When
so
I seen
let's
the
get
condom
focused
wrappers-
here. Let's get focused. I want to get to the child in question.
Okay.
You have doubts
Yes, ma'am.
whether this child is yours
Yes.
because of Mrs. Green's actions. So you've got doubt.
Yes.
When do you learn she's pregnant?
2 weeks after I came back from Atlanta.
So, Mrs. Green, let me
somebody
ask
else.
you. He's away in Atlanta.
Yes, ma'am.
You guys are on another break.
If that's what you call it, I don't know.
Okay, I don't know what to call it either.
Yeah.
I thought it was a marriage, but it doesn't sound like one.
No.
So he comes back. You admit that you had been sleeping with other men and women and having your own fun while he's gone.
Yes,
because you
ma'am.
all are apart. He comes back and then you're pregnant. You tell him you're pregnant.
He was back for like a month before I found out I was pregnant. I had not been with anyone during the time that this child was conceived besides
Oh, really?
him.
Somebody wasn't calling your phone?
So,
Old boy wasn't keep calling your phone?
do you get pregnant through the phone?
You keep
Anyway,
calling your
like I
phone?
said, I hadn't been with anyone during the time that this child was conceived besides him.
You are certain
Yes,
that
ma'am.
during that time, even though you'd had sex with other men and women, during this time when this child was conceived, you were only sleeping with your husband.
Yes, ma'am. And I don't know what women have to do with anything because none of them definitely got me pregnant. So that don't even have nothing to do with what's going on, really. But
No, it don't, but I'm going to explain
Mr.
why.
Green, you say there are rumors you heard that she was with other people.
Yes, there's rumors that I heard she was with other people. My cousin, them telling me that she be on the barbershops all the time, messing with this one, messing with that one. You know what I'm saying? She like,
Now,
please.
all of this was happening during the time the baby was conceived?
Yeah, this is all around the same time, yes. This is all around the same time. We was partying, yeah, we was partying, having a good time.
Together.
Or whatever, together. Yeah, we was partying,
Right.
having a good time together. But at the end of the day, I was about you, and that was that. You was about everything else. I didn't want
Okay.
none of that. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? That was something that
didn't
you
want it,
wanted.
that's
That's
why
something you brought the
participated
milkshake to
in
the
it.
yard. I
Right.
did not.
Okay.
You did.
All right, cool. He's saying if you don't want something, you're supposed to be a grown man. You say, no, we're not going to do this, or I'm just going to leave, correct? You don't participate.
So, Mr. Green, are
That's
you
what you do, right?
accusing Mrs. Green for getting you involved in activities that you wouldn't
Yeah,
otherwise
this
be
my,
involved in?
I never was involved with no,
I
you know
turned
what I'm
a grown
saying,
man to a
swinging
sinner.
stuff. No, to a grown man to a sinner. I ain't say I ain't a sinner or nothing like
Yeah,
that.
okay.
But that was my first like sexual experience with two females and all that. She asked for all of that.
He was
that
there,
was her
though.
people's.
He
that
was
was her
there.
homegirl. Who does that?
He was
You know what
there.
woman brings another woman into the situation, into the equation?
So
That's
now
what she wanted to do.
you two,
And
as
I
a
ain't even
married
like I ain't even
couple,
like the female. Like I
during
ain't
the
even like the
time-
Oh, he
side
didn't like that female,
Yeah.
but he liked
You
it.
don't
Hold
have to
on.
advocate
Let's
like
get some
that.
order. Hold on one second. Because I'm trying to understand this mess. You come back home, and within 2 weeks to a month, your wife is pregnant.
Yes.
But during this time, you've heard rumors that she's sleeping around with other
It was
people.
a female. She actually brought a female into the situation. You know what I'm saying? Like she brought
Well, she's not gonna get pregnant by a woman. I hate to break that to you. So
No, I'm kidding.
we need to understand what men have you heard.
No. I'm gonna get back to the female part if I can
No.
elaborate.
You're gonna get back to the part I need to understand because a female cannot impregnate anybody, and this is paternity court. So we need somebody to be a father.
Well, I am a father. I'm the one that got him now. I got him now. I've been having him for the
What
last.
man are you accusing her of sleeping with during the time this child was conceived? What man are you accusing her of sleeping with during the time this child was conceived?
She told me she was sleeping with somebody else. She told me that. She told me she could be pregnant with him.
Okay.
She told me she could be pregnant by him. That's the whole situation.
All right, and that's why you have your doubt.
Yes, she
So,
told me.
Mrs. Green,
Yes,
did
ma'am.
you tell your husband that while you were gone, I was sleeping with another man and that man could potentially be the father of this child?
Yes, I did admit to having relations with someone else during the time that he was gone, but I never said it was a possibility that he was my child's father. No, ma'am. He has double standards. Everything's cool as
I
long
don't
as
have
it's
no
going
double
his
standards.
way.
Why you lying?
But
You told me that. You told me that you was pregnant. You told me that you might be pregnant. Like before
Okay.
you told me you might be pregnant by somebody else. You told me that. Before
Really?
I even flew back there. Yes, you did.
Okay.
You told me that.
Okay, you just now saying that she told you that she may be pregnant before you ever flew back from Atlanta?
Yes, Your Honor.
But you said before that she told you 2 weeks after
thank you.
you got back.
That's when she told me she was pregnant. I mean, she told me this will happen. She told me, like, I might be pregnant or whatever the case is. Came back home.
Before you came?
Yeah, came back home. She supposedly had her period. Then, like, a week later, she's saying that she's pregnant.
Supposedly have a period?
Supposedly, could have been faking. I don't know.
Oh, man.
Okay, it's your testimony that she said she may be pregnant before, and then by the time you got back home a couple weeks later, she announces, I am, in fact, pregnant.
Yes. And it just was suspicious to me. I didn't understand it. You know what I mean? Like, come on. Like, we chilling, we hanging. You know what I'm saying? Then, like, you pop up a week, 2 later, I'm in town, that you pregnant all of a sudden. And you was just telling me prior to that you know what I'm saying, that you might be pregnant. So I'm like, yeah, I'm giving me doubts. And plus, I know how you get down. I know what people saying about you in the street. So I just want to know for sure.
Okay.
Like, I take care of him
bring
and
up
all of
your
that
witness.
still.
Mr. Concepcion, please stand at the podium. Hello. So now, what do you have to say about this mess and Mrs. Green? What do you have to add?
Listen, basically, she turned up. They both turned up, but she extra turned up.
I believe I want you to explain to me in respectful language, if possible.
Okay.
What turned up means.
Basically.
Enlighten me.
No holds barred. Everything is a go, basically.
Sexually.
Everything is a go, yes.
Understood. Multiple partners.
Vegas in the bedroom.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay. So what are you saying about Mrs. Green? What do you know?
I mean, once he told me that she was pregnant and he was bouncing back and forth, you know, I got friends all over the place. I got cousins in Charlotte. They bouncing back and forth. My cousin got a house in Jacksonville. So I gave him a call, and I'm just like, you know, just asking Joe GP to see, you know, if she ringing like that, like he claimed, you know what I mean? I want to see what's going on. So I call my man. I'm like, yo, listen. I'm like, you know, Whit? Before I can even finish saying Whitney, he like, who? I'm like, Whit. He like, who? I'm like, Whit. He like, no. I'm like, oh.
And that reaction means turned up.
Yeah, she turned up. Yeah, she turned up.
All the way up. You know, turn up.
Basically.
I'm getting it. Yeah. Mr. Concepcion, thank you for that very colorful testimony.
Yes, colorful.
You may be seated. Now, Mrs. Green, you find out you're pregnant. You know in your heart that you're pregnant with your husband's child.
Yes, ma'am.
But can you see, because of the distance and because of the fact that you openly admit that you were having other sexual partners, both men and women, while you were apart, do you understand why he could have some doubt?
Yes, but I don't think there's a reason for you to say because you were only home for 2 weeks. Does it take 2 weeks to get pregnant? Like, anybody with common sense knows it only takes having sex one time to get pregnant.
Yeah,
the amount of time doesn't matter.
It
doesn't matter.
So your issue is not, you can say, look, you're allowed to have the doubt if you want to have the doubt.
I don't care. He can doubt whatever he wants to doubt as long as he take care of my son.
So, Mr. Green, in a nutshell, you believe Mrs. Green is promiscuous? You've heard stories about her. You have doubt as to whether or not this child is yours, based upon that.
Yes, ma'am.
Besides the fact that your wife admitted that she was sleeping with other people, she's saying she's certain during the time this child was conceived that she was only sleeping with you. Are there any other reasons that you have reason to doubt this child is yours? Do you feel like the child looks like you?
No, I don't think.
Look at the baby's nose. Their mouth is open the same with the same dun-dun look on their face. Like, come on now. But my baby don't look like you.
He looks like a typical black male. Like, come on.
Oh, you do too. Imagine that.
Yes, and you've been sleeping with typical black men. And you've been sleeping with typical black men.
I wish I could say that child belonged to somebody else because he's an idiot.
You don't see any resemblance here?
No, I really don't. I really don't. For sure.
Okay, husband and wife, let's hear from the defendant's witness. Please step up to the podium, Ms. Gant. Thank you for joining us. What would you like to say about this situation?
Well, me and Whitney have been friends for a very long time, when, not too long after they got married, probably about 2, 3, maybe 4 days after they got married, she called me crying, and she was like, my husband left. This is 4 days after you get married. Now, for your witness to say, when you get married so you don't have to chase people, you've been chasing and running from the beginning. And I've always remained, I personally You know, because I've been a part of all this. I have to hear the cries. I hear the tears. I've heard both sides of the story, and I try to stay in the middle of everything. But honestly, it comes down to, like I've told him, like I've told her, it's not about you, it's not about her. If y'all want to be together, be together. If you don't want to be together, don't be together. At the end of the day, there are children involved in this that have genuine emotions for the both of y'all. Her children love him just like anybody else. His children love her just like anybody else. It's not about them. It's about the children. And all this back and forth, words after words after words, calling her outside her name
Ms.
and all
Green,
this is in front of the children.
I'm looking at you right now, and you seem very emotional.
I am, because it just doesn't make any sense. Like, I've been through so much with him that isn't relevant to this case. That isn't even relevant.
Speak, Mr. Green.
That isn't even relevant to what's going on right now. When I married this man, he had a child on the way. But I loved him and I wanted to be with him. I had to deal with him. I had to deal with him going back and forth.
You had a child already. What you mean?
And he already had a child too. Like I said, I loved him, so I married him regardless. But I never feel like I was truly ever respected as his wife from day one. It was always his kids over me, or what his family thought over me, or what his friends thought over me, whatever. He never got a chance to try to get to know me because he didn't stay around long enough to do so. I just want all this to be over with so I can carry on and have a normal life. That's all I want.
Okay, now it's time for the DNA results. Jerome, do you have the envelope?
There you go.
The DNA results were prepared today by DNA Diagnostics. In the case of Green versus Green, as it relates to 1-year-old Keegan Green, Mr. Green, Do you want to watch Paternity Court on TV? Go to paternitycourt.tv to find your local listings. In the case of Green versus Green, as it relates to 1-year-old Keegan Green, Mr. Green, you are the father.
Now turn up to that. Turn up now.
That's what I talk about. That's all I wanted to know.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted to know. That's all I want to know. Why you all mad? Like, come on. You shouldn't be surprised.
I'm not surprised, are you?
You shouldn't be surprised. You shouldn't be surprised that I say something.
I don't even care. I don't even care. It's okay. I just need my paperwork.
Let's get some order. I see a lot of nonsense in this courtroom, things that I feel like I really can't believe my eyes. But you all have taken the cake today. I don't know what you all thought marriage was when you got into it, but you obviously had no clue. You all are over here supposed to be married to one another, sleeping with this person, sleeping with that person, and bringing children into this world within this mess. That's not acceptable. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna keep it really real, it's shameful.
Right.
You got a lot of nerve to sit up here and actually be producing children when you can't even get your own lives together. Now, it is the order of this court that you all decide whether or not you're gonna be married or you're not.
We ain't.
We're not.
We ain't.
And that's fine. Well, then dissolve the marriage and learn how to parent together respectfully for the sake of the children. And stop being so messy. Court is adjourned.